The city town, the town of one of the deepest lakes in the world, Lake Kivu. See, every part that I come to you from has a bit of a story. I told you the story of Kivu. So now I just want to start with sharing with you just a little bit of history of this lake. This lake is called Lake Mburo, but people confuse it as Kachera. When we came here, we got this land as an extension of Thomas's farm in Weshare some 13, 14 years ago. The name they gave me was Rweyazia. The word Okuyaga in Nyachitara is to melt. Land that stretches with valleys and melts. So there is a mythical story, an apocryphal story of this land. It is said around the 16th century, 17th century, I think, one of the kings in this area was called RUGAMBANAMAJU. He was so tall that when he sat down, his knees would go up to his face. He had two men who were the curators of his tobacco. These two men, one was called Kigarama, another one was called Mburo. So Kigarama one day had a dream. This land starts at a place called Kayebe. Kayebe is where the clan of the Bayebe come from in Ankole. Now, Kigarama had a dream, and in the dream he saw the flooding of this Rweyazia valley. And he told his brother Mburo, Mburo and Kigarama were brothers, to move to a higher ground. Mburo thought, that's you're playing planks on me. It's not possible for this valley to fill. So one day it started raining, and Kigarama went on the raised ground, and this whole land was flooded, and the property and the cows of Mburo disappeared in the flood. It was called Mburo. That's the apocryphal story. Now Kigarama is a hill on my left-hand side, one of the tallest. It is named after the brother who survived. Now, this Mburo really gets its water from a long way in what is called Akayanja ka Cheramutwe. Who was Cheramutwe? He was the king of the Bamori who live in present-day Maogora. There was a small valley that would fill up. You are actually able to see part of that valley when you get to a place called Echichinga. Echichinga is near Rwemiyaga. So it would fill up, and this man would go to perform his rituals, and they call it Akayanja ka Cheramutwe. So it gave the water that feeds this lake Kachera. That's where the name comes from. And when you're driving to Kampala on the road that is on my left-hand side, you will notice that in the rainy season, that whole valley of Chazanga, which is in Ruwengo district, and Mbirizi floods. Where is the flood coming from? From the Chichinga, where Kayanja Kachera Mutwe was. Where does the Chichinga get its water? River Mpanga, which goes behind Kabogore, Chegegwa district. And so where does River Mpanga come from? Lake Masioro, which is Georgie, and Lake Mwitanzije, which is Albert. How are those rivers fed? By the 6,000 feet above sea level high hills of Rujumbura, where rivers Menera, Kahenje, and others come from. So you can see really the connectedness of our geography and our history of Uganda. So that's this little story about the land we are standing on. It's an apocryphal story, but you young people need to know that there is always a past before you can focus on the present. That's why I tell you these stories.